Welcome to Gracepilled, a podcast about the spiritual process and the mysterious forces shaping your life. My name is Hanna, and since 2015, I have been a practitioner in a classical Shakta tantric tradition, which informs literally every aspect of my life, including the things that I like to talk about. I work with people to recognize the deeply spiritual patterns that are shaping their life so that they can start moving with those patterns instead of against them. This show is that whole conversation out loud again and again and again. You can work with me through my website, hannawilliams.com, or join my Patreon for deeper teachings and ongoing Q&A sessions, also a community Discord server. I also have a 100% free human design resource on my website if you want to start your human design experiment. But for now, let's get into the episode. In today's episode, I am sitting down with Kayla Radhika Miller, a multidisciplinary artist, mystic, and tantric yoga teacher whose work lives right at the intersection of art and spiritual practice. In this conversation, we are diving into the relationship between art and the spiritual path and what it actually means to turn art into a practice rather than just as a form of self-expression. We definitely differentiate those things. We also talk about how beauty can interrupt the mind and open us into something deeper, how making art can train your perception to see reality more clearly, and how the creative process mirrors spiritual practice in ways that are surprisingly direct. We also get into the tension between technique and devotion, why frustration is part of the process, and how art can become a dialogue with something beyond you rather than something you're just trying to control. Ain't that a yogic practice? I feel like Kayla brings such a rich perspective to this conversation. Her background spans traditional Shaiva Tantra, Bhakti Yoga, Kashmir Shaivism, the expressive arts, along with an academic foundation in art history and years of immersive artistic practice. You can really feel that depth in the way that she speaks about art as something that's not just here to represent experience, but to actually transmit experience. And for those of you who may not know, art isn't just something that I talk about conceptually. I've been an artist my entire life. I tell that story a little bit more in this episode. And it's also been a pretty big part of my own spiritual process. And I see that a lot more now in hindsight than I used to in the past. So if you want to explore that side of my work, I do have an Etsy shop where I sell my art on clothing and other pieces that you can wear and live with. And so that Etsy is called Distant Planet Design, but I'll put all the links in the show notes. And enough of this introduction, let's get into the conversation, and I hope you really enjoy it. Hi, Kayla. Welcome to Gracepilled.
Hello. So nice to be on the pod.
Wonderful. I'm so good that you're here. And then I have a fellow spiritual, devotional, artistic person with me to discuss the overarching theme of our conversation, which is art as spiritual practice. But we're going to go all over the place with this probably.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be such a rich conversation.
Me too. So the way that I want to begin is that I'd like you to introduce yourself to our listeners, just maybe like your spiritual background, but also like your artistic background. Like, what's up with that? Like, I know that you have a master's in art history, but you also have done different trainings, I imagine, for art. So like, tell us all about that.
Yeah. My life has been this really interesting weave of like traditional yoga and tantra, visual arts, the arts as like a spiritual practice, and like academic art history. And it's kind of this really interesting path of all of those things kind of interweaving and merging. Um, yeah, I was initiated into a tantric lineage in 2019. I've been practicing since then. I went to an ashram to learn more about yoga, and it just so happened that the owners of the ashram were devout practitioners in a tantric lineage, and they were kind of like, while you're here, if you want, you can sort of take on this mantra practice and see how it feels. And it kind of just escalated from there. And it just was something that I kind of came into very naturally. And at that time, I had already had like a bachelor's in art history. And then
Mm.
after the first little bit at the ashram, I went and did like a graduate certificate in expressive arts facilitation. So like using
Oh,
like poetry, music, visual art, drama therapy, like all of these art modalities as like a inquiry practice, and like building relationship with the self and with the heart.
wait,
And then I
that
went
was like
back
at
to
a
the ashram.
university?
That was at a college. It was like
Oh,
a
that was at
graduate
a
at a
college. Oh, that
college.
sounds really cool.
It was really interesting. And so it was still very much like in the realm of like the personal self, but then I kind of had this like ashram experience and like yogic experience to kind of like take it a little bit deeper. But then I went back and like lived at the ashram for 2 years. And while I was there, I was like noticing all these correlations between like traditional spiritual practice and what I remembered from like studying 20th century art history in my undergrad. And I was like, this is a really interesting intersection. So I applied to grad school and then ended up doing grad school in art history, exploring like the visual language of artists who had a deeply spiritual practice. And so it's just been this really interesting path of kind of all of those interweaving. So now I like teach yoga and tantra, I like both on the mat and through art. Um, and yeah, I'm starting to work more with artists and like developing their spiritual practice and their visual language. So it's a really evolving like path, but this is kind of the realm that I find myself in.
Yeah. Okay, I have two clarifying questions. One is, did I understand that you said that when you first went to the ashram, you didn't realize at first that it was a tantric tradition, or did you know going into it?
I had no idea.
I have a
I had no
similar
idea.
story. I didn't realize either.
Yeah, it's like it's just kind of like reeled me and I was like, "Oh, this is here." And it was like such grace to like just go to like learn more about yoga and then it was like, "Oh, here's this like side quest you can actually go
Yeah.
on." And then the side quest kind of just became the central driver. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, similar with you, hey, it was like through like a partner, I
Well,
feel like.
yeah, I don't know if you ever heard me tell this story, but yeah, I got into the tradition because I was in a relationship with somebody who was already in the tradition, but 2 years into being in the tradition, this is so crazy. I actually took a Hindu Tantra philosophy course in college. And when I was in that course, I was like, wait a minute, we're tantrics? Like I like didn't fully realize that I was in a tantric tradition until I took that college course, but it's not because we're not overtly tantric, it's because my guru doesn't really emphasize like the details of the philosophy. He's much more about like practice and engagement and approach and like just living the teachings. Like he doesn't ever really hardly ever say tantra,
This kind
but
of like
it's like
incognito
overtly,
tantric
it's like
guru.
overtly tantric.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I had a clarifying question about that because I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's what happened to me too. But then the other thing that is lingering for me is like you're studying art history and doing all of these things at an academic level. Like, were you drawing from like a young age or painting? Like, what about that whole side of it? Like, actually doing the artistic work.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've always been creatively, like, I've always had a creative disposition. And my mom was she was a huge role. I think my brother is also like a incredible artist. He is like one of the most creative people that I know. Like his creative vision is like next level, and it's been that way since he was a child. And I think like she really nurtured creativity, would take us to the craft store when we were kids and we would pick things out. We would make masks. We just grew up in a very like creatively supportive environment. So I think it was always there. Um,
Yeah.
and then when I was a kid, like I remember my grade 5 teacher, she would give us these like doodle books. And it was like when you're done your school work and you have extra time, you can like play in your doodle book. And so I actually would draw I would like make up families and draw floor plans of their house. And then I like ended up like applying to architecture school and like did a first year of architecture before switching into art history. Um, and so I think it just kind of like evolved more
Mhm.
throughout my life, but I wouldn't say it like linked to my spiritual practice directly or like consciously until I was in my 20s.
Okay, right. Yeah. So maybe we could say that like the artistic creative urge was there first and then you started to make the connection. Or actually were both of those things there? Did you have like a spiritual urge when you were young?
I would say like just this kind of like thirst to understand, you know? And
Right.
like I also played the violin and the saxophone and I was a dancer and
Yeah.
like I was so involved in like all these art forms and I think like I didn't have the language for it at the time, but it was like there was this recognition that like there's something really alive in this. Like I feel really alive when I'm engaging with the arts. And there's like that's probably the language that I would have used at the time, like that there's just like a presence and an aliveness in that. Um,
Yeah, that's interesting because one of the things that we want to talk about today is like where does art stop being self-expression and when does it start becoming actual practice? And do you feel like when you were younger, you were just fully in the expression space of like dancing and playing music and like doing all of that sort of painting? Like, was that just like very on the expression side of things? And then later on, it came into turning it into practice?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, but I think it's like there's such like a practice in that now. You know what I mean? Like I can look back and be like,
Totally.
"Oh, wow, like just engaging in this thing because it felt so alive is such a deeply
Oh,
spiritual thing to do."
yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, was that your experience with it? Because, like you said, I know you've said before that you're very
Oh.
mechanical and mental with the artistic process, but like, I'm curious if that's something that you've experienced in
Okay,
your
this is
journey.
interesting.
Like, there's an a
Okay,
lot.
yeah, okay, wait a minute. So why don't I introduce my side of the story before I answer
Yes,
that
please
question?
do.
And so, okay, hi you guys, my name's Hanna. You're listening to my podcast. I have been an artist since I could hold a crayon. Like I literally think I came out of the womb. I probably came out of the room with a oil pastel in my hand or something. Like I think I just did it from the moment I could. It was like compulsion. I can't remember a time I haven't been drawing. So that is a huge part of I came out with that. I just baked in really heavily and I grew up in an artistic family in the sense that my dad is a lifelong artist. He went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts in the 60s and studied fine art and representational art like portraits and landscapes and these sorts of things. But he actually does these like crazy, almost like psychedelic Bruegel style paintings now that the whole family is like, okay, dad. Like,
That's hilarious.
and so anyway, I was raised by an artist, which I so we have a similarity with that. Like that creative urge was supported. Um, and I would say that for me, I remember when I was in like fifth grade, I've actually told my 10-year-old stepdaughter this story that when I was in fifth grade, I was like really into drawing like cartoons because like, we would like watch cartoons. So you would like draw like the characters on TV or something or like whatever it was. And when I was in fifth grade, I said to myself, I am done drawing cartoons. I am only doing realism now. And I don't know what
I'm
possessed me to do
beyond
that.
this.
I am too mature for this. Like in the fifth grade, I can remember like it was yesterday. I was at my friend Claudia's house, and I was like, Claudia, I'm not drawing cartoons anymore. I'm only drawing things realistically. And I started drawing her, and I tried to do like a realistic drawing of her, and it was obviously like as good as it could be for a fifth grader. But I almost kind of like got really obsessed with like realistically rendering things.
Mm.
And so I think that when it comes to like the mechanical aspect of me, I've always had a drive towards realistic rendering, which I think could be like an impulse that's like worth kind of like unpacking even like in a spiritual sense. Like what's the point of even doing? But I think it served me well because we can have a whole discussion about this. But I think that there's like in order to like deconstruct form, you have to understand form.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And so I got like really deep into like understanding form from a really young age in the sense of like rendering things realistically. And then from
Yeah.
there, I feel like I've been able to do things that are a little bit more like imaginal because I understand the form. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the classic, like you have to understand the rule in order to break the rule.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Right. So I started to try to understand the rule in the fifth grade for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
And so then
This
that's
thirst for
art,
understanding.
art. Yeah. And I was also very driven. I had a thirst to understand for sure for similar and different reasons. And so then I go, literally my whole life is art. and I'm in high school. I'm like failing high school, but I'm doing art. And I ended up in art school by the grace of my skills alone. That was the only reason why I think I got accepted, not my grades. Um, but then I did do a year of art school and then I dropped out to become a farmer, which is a whole other story that maybe some listeners are aware of or But I actually went through a phase where I rejected art because I was like a really self-righteous 19-year-old who was like, we're all going to starve if we don't learn how to grow our own food. So what's the point of making art? I have a much higher view now, 15 years
Yeah.
later. But that was kind of what pushed me away from it. But in the last 15 years since I like dropped out of art school, I've always orbited back to making art. It's like I can't quit you. I
Yeah,
can't quit you.
it's got a pull on you.
It's got a pull on me. And so I think that's the majority of my background with art is that I came out of the womb with a crayon in my hand. I did do some formal training in art school, and even like the high school that I went to had a really serious art program. So I think I just like did a lot of that front loading, and then I just started to explore art even in the form of like words and writing. And I would even argue like in the last 6 years, like making memes is my favorite art form. I just need to
It
admit
really is. It's a high art form that deserves more credit.
it's my highest art form, I think. And
Yeah.
so I think for now that's enough about my backstory, and more of it will come out as we talk.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's also really interesting that kind of like your actual academic training is more in the spiritual realm, and then arts is kind of like supported it. And then in my experience, it's like all my academic training has been in the arts, and then the like traditional kind of spiritual practice has been this thing supporting it. So it's kind of this really interesting like balancing act that we have in this conversation, and sort of like same but different, you know?
Yes. Oh my God. I keep thinking of other things to talk about while we're talking. This is going to be a 5 hour conversation. Because I was just thinking about like I honestly feel like in my journey of like, okay, so like being really obsessed with art and then like bailing it to be a farmer and then having my spiritual awakening on a farm and then going on the whole spiritual thing, but like art always kind of like orbiting me back. Like I think that the thing that always kind of brings me back is like this underlying question that I have of like, what do we do with the gifts that God has given us? Like,
Hmm.
do we engage with that, or is it like ego? Or is it like, is it not worth doing,
Yeah.
you know?
That's such a rich conversation because, like, I mean, I literally remember texting my friend Achoki, like, I was having this like meltdown when I was like about to go to grad school, and I was like, why on earth is life pulling me in all these different directions where I like want to live at an ashram, and then I like randomly want to go and like do an academic like master's degree, and I'm like, I just don't understand why I would be given this like academic thirst and this like yogic desire, and I'm like, just don't get it. But it's like I think it's really important to engage with and like to explore the crossover and to be like, okay, like this is here, but like let's ride it with sincerity, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or like if this is our nature, how can we use it to the greatest benefit for ourselves, like spiritually? Like if
Yeah.
it's there, if it's like a thing that exists, how can we leverage that towards our spiritual goals?
Yeah, and I mean something that you've talked about too in like relationship with money that's always stuck out to me is like actually this is like Shakti like wanting to have an experience. And it's like, I feel like that applies here, you know? It's like with our kind of like natural inclinations and the things that we're drawn to and the skills that we have, it's like this like desire of consciousness to have a particular experience. And that looks different for all of us. But I think for us, like here today, like the kind of contemplation is really like this toolkit of the arts on a spiritual path, and especially as a tantric, which is kind of what we're gonna
Yes.
explore.
Right. Yeah. So how do we use art as an avenue to engage with tantric principles is a question that we have. Where would you go with that
Mhm.
question?
Yeah, I think the kind of like main things that come up for me, and I could go on and on about this, but like the kind of main pillars are like the evocative power of art, because like art does not function by description or concept. It functions through evocation. you know, like a really good work of art does not describe an experience, it actually takes you to the experience. And so the role of that on the spiritual path is really powerful, and we'll
That's
kind of get
crazy.
into that. Um, you know, like great spiritual traditions, it's like it's through text and through word and through teaching, but like art functions through evocation and through the senses. Um, and then
Oh, wow.
also like the arts as this kind of like training of perception.
Mm.
Like so much of spiritual practice is like your perception of reality, like expanding or enhancing or deepening your perception of reality. And the arts are like their foundational ground is perception.
Yes.
Um, and the role of beauty. I think this would be a really good starting point, I think, is just
Yeah.
like starting point as we're like how far into
I
this
know.
conversation.
I know it's okay.
Um, I feel like, you know, something that we were kind of contemplating before is like, is beauty just aesthetic or does it actually do something to consciousness? I feel like this is a really interesting point. So I'm curious, like, because you asked me this and I have my notes on it, but I'm curious, like, what sort of
Yes.
like inspired you to ask this question?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So what inspired me to ask this question is I mean, beauty is like a huge topic for me. I've been like wanting to like teach a course on beauty as something that's not just trivial. It's something that's like deeply transformative for like years, and I just never end up doing it. I think maybe it'll be in several years, and when it's ready to come out, it'll come out. But I actually was just listening to Chris Wallace's podcast the other day, and he was kind of, I don't know if this is like specifically a teaching from Abhinavagupta, but he was saying that like when you sneeze, after you sneeze, there's this moment where there's like no mind. And
Yeah.
then like a yogi would like sit in that space of no mind after the sneeze.
Mhm.
And I'm mentioning that to kind of make a parallel between what I think beauty actually has the capacity to do to us, where there's
Mhm.
like no mind. And then that's the thing that it has the capability of doing to our consciousness among so many other things. But like that's like the first thing that comes up for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's this beautiful quote that I actually have noted down that I wanted to bring up on this that like basically alludes to this exact point. And it's by Scott Guyan. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. It was a section in a blog on Rupert Spira's website. We love Rupert Spira. Um, and he's talking about like the necessity of beauty, and he said, perhaps it's fair to say that an encounter with art or music possessing the quality of true beauty could suddenly cause what might be called a sacred interruption, a directionless dive into eternity in which all our feelings of separation fall away into a grand but utterly humble sense of unity. And so it's like beauty, like this real encounter with beauty takes us off of this like horizontal line of time with like past and present and future and problems or like, you know, like, and it just kind of plunges us into this like vertical space of being that
Mm-hmm.
we're just there
Mm-hmm.
fully, you know, and like all the other things kind of fall away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like what you're
Yeah,
alluding.
yeah, and it's like that could happen like in yeah, like art making, like seeing a beautiful piece or listening to a beautiful piece of music, but even just like cresting a hill and then like seeing like a beautiful scene in front of you of like a mountain range or something, like those sorts of
Yeah.
experiences.
And there's like this moment of beauty before the mind comes in and labels sunrise or
Oh
like
yeah. Yes, yes,
hill
exactly,
or
exactly.
mountain or, you know, it's like you're just stunned. And that's what the post sneeze like comment. It's like this, like, you're like stunned out of your like categorizing of reality and you're just there.
Right. So beautiful things give us a sacred opportunity to have a direct experience of something before the mind comes in and tries to put a label on it.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing.
What a wonderful
What a
thing.
wonderful thing.
Yeah. So it's like it does something, quote unquote, like does something to like, you know, lowercase c consciousness. But then it's like beauty actually is consciousness. It's like that radiating power, like that capacity to like pull you in. And you know, David Frawley actually talks about Kali as beauty because it's like there's like this devouring kind of capacity. And it's like beauty is eternal, right? Like the things that we call beautiful are expressions of beauty, but when that thing dies, beauty doesn't die. It's only the thing that it was reflected on. And
Yeah.
so it's like when we contact things that are beautiful, it's like if we follow to like the energy behind them or feel that like presence of beauty,
Mhm.
it's like that's actually a way to access like
Mhm.
the eternal.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I do a lot of teaching about sense impressions, which is like a deeper topic, maybe in a sense, but like literally surrounding yourself with beautiful sense impressions to the best of your ability is a spiritual practice.
Mhm.
Because if you view it through the way that you're describing it, like through the thing that you just said, like that becomes something that becomes supportive of the mind state that we're seeking. And
Which
so,
is so tantric.
yes.
You know, it's like using the world, using the senses, using the like energy of experience
Mhm.
as the like gateway,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
which I think actually leads into the next point that we were going to talk about, which is like the like role of art in perception,
Mm-hmm.
like in sort of like art or beauty or this kind of like approach of like the lens of the artist as this sort of like training ground to see reality differently.
Yes. But
I'm
can I say
curious.
one thing that's almost like maybe a bridge to the idea?
Yeah.
So, like, back on the beauty thing, like, maybe this is like a bridge into perception. One of my, like, this is like my personal take. Like, this doesn't need to be like absolute truth, like, this is what's actually going on. But one of the reasons why I believe that humans are moved by beauty and art and creating art, whether that's music or visual art or a flower bouquet, like, literally whatever it is because we're trying to recreate what we saw before we were born.
Mm,
And there's like a piece of our soul that like knows what that blissful loka is, like whatever it is, like that place where it's just like all bliss. Like we were there and we've
yeah.
been there. That's like where our soul actually resides. And then when we're on earth, when we're trying to make music, we're trying to go back to that experience or bring that experience here, or we're trying to remember we've been there. And so we're bringing it here, but like people don't realize that's the thing that's like moving them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of contemplation or like even like a takeaway for like people who are listening to the podcast is like um like just noticing those moments where you feel in contact with beauty and like does it feel like home? Like does it feel like you've landed in, you know? And just kind of like to take on that lens or to like take on that approach like I've had experiences where like I've been guiding meditation and students will say like I feel like I just like landed at home,
Yeah.
and it's like beauty can also take you there, art can also take you there. And so like I think that's a really nice contemplation and kind of like a takeaway on the beauty note.
Yes. Beautiful. There's a saying in Islam, God is beautiful and loves beauty.
Hmm.
So, how does art train you to see reality differently? Do you have somewhere to go with that? I kind of have somewhere to go with that.
I do. I
Why don't you
like
start? Why don't you start?
Okay. Something I kind of want to just tell a funny story with
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
So I think like for a lot of us, like when we are children and we're in school and we learn like shapes and words and there's like this is what an apple looks like. And you see the picture of the apple and the word apple, or you'll be like, this is what a tree looks like, or this is what a house looks like. And you kind of learn like what things are called by these like basic images. And that's how you're kind of like when you're young training yourself to like relate to reality.
Oh.
One time, I think it was last summer, I was at my friend's cabin and we were sitting on the couch and we had this little drawing pad and we were kind of talking about like perception and art, and I was like there was an apple on the table and I was like try and draw this apple. Like draw this apple on this drawing pad. And she drew like the most stereotypical apple
Right.
that you would draw, that's like when you think of like apple, it's probably like the automatic little cartoon like kind of
Yes.
thing with the little leaf and the stem, and it's kind.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, look at the apple. Does it actually look like that?" And she just burst out laughing, and it was like, "No." Like,
Yes.
and it was like she could actually see the apple for the first time when I was like, "Does it actually look like that?" And she was laughing because she realized, like, wow, I saw this apple and just drew my like mental categorization of what I associate an apple looking like. I didn't even actually look at the apple,
Yes.
you know? And so she was like, whoa. And then she like tried to draw it again, and she was way more patient and way more, and she was like really being with
Yeah.
what was there in front of her, you know? And so it's like it kind of to like look at it through the lens of the artist was to like break through the like mental categorization of what that is and to actually see the moment in front of her. Or like another example, I was on a hike the other day with a friend, and I was like, if I was going to paint these tree trunks, I would not use any brown in my palette. But we're taught that brown is like the color of a tree trunk.
That's
But
right.
I'm like, look
Oh,
at
that's a
it.
good example.
Look at it. It's actually kind of like a grayish purple, like
Yes.
in the lighting that we were in. I was like, I would use green, I would use navy blue,
Yeah.
some white, and some purple, and that would be my palette to paint this tree trunk.
Hmm.
And we were both kind of just like, oh, wow. And it kind of like just opens up
Yeah,
this.
I think it opens up a realm of subtlety. It's like you have to
Yeah.
crack the mind open to subtlety, but it's so funny that you told that story about the apple because I was gonna literally say the same thing that people will draw what they think something looks like versus what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
And then I actually think that we just figured out why fifth grade me wanted to learn how to draw things realistically because I think like I was just like kind of inborn into this life with a desire to see reality clearly.
Mhm.
And that's like philosophically or personally or spiritually like that has been like on so many different fronts. And when you do want to like render something realistically, like it's not about like your conjecture about the thing. It's not about like what you think the thing looks like. You have to do what is actually there if you're really going for realism, right?
Yes. Which
Which
is
which
ironically
is just
such a
like an
spiritual thing to
approach.
do.
Right. I never made that connection until literally right now.
Yeah. It's like you have to empty yourself of expectation
Yes.
to meet what actually is.
Yes. And then I always say to people, it's just shapes. But
Yeah.
everything is just shapes.
Exactly. And so that's when you start to see life as just like palette. It's just palette and
It's
shape.
just
And it's like,
shapes.
it's all just God, like
Yes.
taking on these myriad forms. It's like when you stop categorizing,
Yes.
you know. Adyashanti tells this story of like a toddler who like looks up um in the sky. I think it's actually he's quoting Krishnamurti, but this toddler that looks up in the sky is like mesmerized by this bird. And then the dad says like, "Oh, that's called a bird." And the child will never see the bird the same way again because it has this label and this category on it that kind of separates it from life. And so this is actually, I think, the power of abstract art because it's like it kind of stuns you out of your categorization and your thinking
You're like
mind.
seeing something you've never seen before.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, and it's like the sunrise or the post sneeze almost. You're kind of like it's like the blocks of categorizing the world
Mhm.
are kind of blown open for a second. There's this like this oftentimes confusion or feeling or whatever it is, but like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like training your perception out of
Yes.
the like habitually learned categorization of the world.
Absolutely. Yes. There's two other things that are coming up for me. One is like the like uh almost like humbling activity of doing like a master copy. Like if you're gonna like try to perfectly copy like another painting, and then like when you actually sit down and look at the other painting, you're like, oh shit, there's all so many things about this painting I like never noticed before. But like
Yeah,
now that I'm sitting down trying to reproduce it, there's like things that I'm noticing that like I would have never seen if I hadn't decided to do this.
absolutely. Which I think this is also such a great practice and a great takeaway is like go out into the world and with a sketchbook and just draw. Like not as a practice of making art, but as a practice of seeing.
Yes, the
You know,
practice of
practice of
seeing.
perception. Like, you know, because there's so much pressure, like, oh, this has to be good, it has to look this way, it has to look that way. No, like you can actually use the arts just as a practice of like training
Yes.
your perception.
Yes. Yeah, have you ever okay, there's this like reel that I posted years ago that went viral and I was telling this story about plant blindness. Have you ever heard of this?
Like people don't know
Yeah,
what
so like
plants
plant
are?
blindness, there's a connection here with like subtlety and like perception. So it's like plant blindness is the experience of somebody who has like no ecological or nature awareness. And so there's a phenomena where like people that don't know how to categorize plants will just see they literally just see bush. They just see tree. But like they actually do not have the perceptual capacity to like notice the difference between different types of plants. And so
Hmm.
it's like called plant blindness. And then once somebody like starts learning about the different types of plants, nothing about reality has changed. Reality is exactly the same as it was before. You've just like refined your perception to see things that were there but you couldn't see them before.
Yeah.
And so I think with color theory, like the thing that you were talking about with the trees, there could be a similar thing where you're saying like that person only sees brown, whereas you or I would see literally every color of the rainbow probably. Because
Yeah.
that's what's like actually there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're like really
Yeah.
honest with your eyes about what's actually happening.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such like it just depends on like the approach that you're meeting reality with. And you can try on all these different hats and these different lenses and like to go in with the lens of the artist, like even within the toolkit of an artist, it's like you can go out and view things from a formal lens, from a color lens, from a,
Totally.
you know, or like even if we want to bring in bhakti yoga, like the different bhavas, like
Mm-hmm.
how would I paint this if it were my lover? How would I paint this if it were a dear friend? How
Oh
would I
my
paint this
God.
if it were a close like um
Yeah.
parent, you know, how would I paint this if
Yeah.
it were my lord? Like, you know, or how would I see this in either
Or
of
how would
those
I
things?
paint this if nobody's gonna see it except for me?
Yeah. It's a there's so much possibility
Yeah,
with like the toolkit of the
yes.
artist and like going
Yes.
out and seeing the world that
Yes.
way.
You know what's such an obstacle to young artists everywhere is like
Mm.
skin tone colored crayons.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Skin is
I once
every color
saw
of the
this YouTube
rainbow.
video that was like, don't ever use brown when when you paint skin.
Yeah.
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 It's
Like
crazy.
any skin tone is like full of every color. Like the entire idea of like a crayon being skin tone, I mean, aside from like the conversation of like white skin tone, like it's just, we're failing artists everywhere with the skin
Yes,
tone colored
truly.
crayon.
Truly. Oh my God. Yeah. Like that's even a practice in itself is just look at like a portrait, literally any portrait and see what kinds of colors that you can
Exactly.
find.
Exactly.
Um, like there's Emily Carr is one of my favorite artists. She studied with a teacher who was like, find sunlight in the shadows. Go and find sunlight in the shadows. That was the like contemplation. And you realize that actually like any shadow is not black
Mhm.
or gray. It's like a deep blue or a deep purple or like, and
Right.
you're like, whoa, it's
Yeah.
just like this like enrichment or this
Yeah.
enhancement that happens. And then to take in the lens of like, this is also actually all the play of God, then you're like,
Yes.
whoa, pop
Yeah,
off
okay,
queen.
this is where my brain is going. So like, okay, so the plant blindness idea and then kind of because the thing that I said in the reel, it's pinned on my Instagram, by the way, anyone who's listening. But the thing I said in the reel is that I told the plant blindness story, but then I like overlaid it onto the spiritual path where I was like, the spiritual path isn't really that different because nothing about reality changes. It's just that you see God where you couldn't see it before. And so,
Hmm.
like, the spiritual path is also about refining your perception so that you see more and more God in the thing that is actually, it's always there. It's not like it's ever,
Yes.
never not there. And so, a thing that my brain is going to now is even like the discussion of like the three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas. And sometimes those are described as like the three primordial colors that make up the canvas of reality.
Beautiful.
And so it's like when we're thinking about like art making as a tool that can help to refine our perception, I wonder if like if we're trying to become more subtle in our view of reality or more subtle in our relationship to physicality, it's almost kind of like noticing these gunic themes that are actually making up everything. But like that's like
Mm.
a deeper level even beyond like just like how your mind could get refined by art. You know what I mean? There's like something underneath that. Do I sound crazy or are you like following me?
No, I am following. And it's like, it's the same thing with like the energy of the elements
Right.
too. you know, like the earth
Yes.
element being like I'm just looking at a chair right now, like across my table. It's like
Yeah.
that's like constructed of like this like earth and air and like, like the energy that's behind form, whether that's like the Shakti of the elements, the Shakti of the senses, the gunas, like there's so
Oh,
much that's
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
happening and like permeating
Mhm.
uh form. And I think that that becomes, yeah, more available
Mhm.
the deeper that you like cultivate this power of seeing.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's like it's interesting. It almost kind of feels like there's like it's not that anything's like higher or lower, but like there's like a layers to the onion of perception.
Hmm.
And it almost kind of feels like it's like there's a layer beneath like the subtlety that we're speaking of like this like awareness of like the three gunas, just using it as an example. But it's like that's not even at the core of the onion. But it's like it's like a contemplation maybe of like there's only three principles that you're ever engaging with. And everyone that you've ever met is just like a different conglomeration of those principles. Like that's like a thing that we talk about in
Yeah.
my tradition a lot. It's just kind of like you've never been in a new relationship, you've never had a new experience actually, because the only thing that's happening are the gunas turning into
Mm,
different manifestations of the one God. But then like closer down into the core of the onion is that there's no separation between the gunas either.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the path
Oh my
is like
God. I'm
opening
like,
your mind more and more into that unity awareness. And
yeah.
it's like a
I'm like
gradual process.
envisioning this like practice of like this is an example in real time. I feel like of like how you can take a spiritual teaching and apply it artistically of like what if you prescribed a particular color to each of the gunas, and you can use like black, red, and white if you want, but like any color that you prescribe to the three gunas,
Well,
and
it's
then go
typically
into
red,
the
yellow,
environment.
and blue.
Wait, what?
The gunas are typically red, yellow, and blue.
Oh, and in my tradition, they've always been associated with black,
Really?
like black,
I
Thomas,
guess
red
tamas
is
is black.
Rajas, and white is Sattva. Like the like a Yagnikund and like a tantric Yagnikund is like the bottom is black, representing the tamasic layer of reality. The red in the middle is Rajasic, and the white on top is Sattvic. And so you offer like offerings to the three layers of reality before you do the yagna.
I mean, both things are valid, but I was just from my
Yeah.
head, I was the primary colors is how I've always thought of the gunas. That's so interesting.
But yeah, you could totally do the primary colors for like this exercise, but like two like the primary colors of reality, let's say. So you could do, yeah, like red, blue, and yellow. And go into an environment or like look at an object and be like, what is like the energetic makeup of this? And then paint it or draw it with those three colors and like to the degree at which each guna feels present, you know? So like an environment that feels really sattvic, three-quarters of the painting is going to be that color. And if it's like equally split, then you'll use all three colors equal. You know, it's like you can use the arts to like explore the energy of your experience.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
That would be such a fun, like, exploration, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like you're using the toolkit of the artist to
Yes.
like deepen your relationship with like
Yes.
the teaching or the reality or
Yes.
whatever it is that's on
Yeah,
offer.
because even with the gunas, like it is like a contemplation of like feeling awareness. Because nothing is like necessarily like fundamentally tamasic, but it's like a feeling sense that you get from the space. And so maybe like a stagnant pond is like a tamasic space. And you're just kind of like, there's no
Yeah.
life here, there's inertia, it's stagnant. Or like Rajasic would be like a windstorm. But like these are like, it's like a feeling awareness that it tells you what the thing is. It's not necessarily what the thing is.
Yeah. So and then it's like if you're painting that, it's like you'd have like a huge block of that solid tamasic color on a stagnant pond. But then you'd use like lots of like brush strokes and form and like whatever color you prescribe Rajasic to like a Rajasic windy like situation, you know? And so it's like, how can I use color and form to like infuse that feeling into what I'm perceiving of this moment? That's so fun. Like,
Are
what
you
better
gonna
use
do
of
that
time?
tomorrow? Like
Probably.
later tonight?
Oh my
Well,
God,
actually,
totally.
something that's occurring to me too, and this is such a fun conversation because it's putting some pieces together for me, is we've had a discussion about how I love black and white illustration because I'm a limitation enjoyer. But
Yeah.
also I've always loved limited palettes of like only painting something with like red, blue, yellow, and then maybe white, definitely white. And like that's it.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Yeah, that is
like,
so
but
interesting.
that's just reality though. Like that's so weird. I've like never made that connection before. It's like everything is only made up of so many physical principles. And like even like the colors themselves are almost kind of like the physical laws that allow physical reality to be existent. And they put limitations on like the exuberance of consciousness. But there is only so much that can anything can be. It's like the limited palette literally has limits to what can be created, but that's similar to what it's like to be like an embodied form. Okay, here I go. Do I sound crazy again? Or
No, no, it's like what the contemplation of like how much variation can I make with this limitation
yes. Yes.
is like it's like I feel like that is like the path. You know, here I am as this limited thing. Like, what are all the possibilities that are on offer, and how what can that open up for my life?
Yes. Yes. There's this saying, I don't remember who said it, but it was like, if you can look at a limitation and love it, you're seeing with the eyes of God.
Yeah.
I
Because you're
love that
seeing through
shit.
the limitation to like
Mhm.
it's it's like the microcosm macrocosm. Like, can you
Yes.
find the macrocosm in the microcosm?
Yes. Wow.
That's so fun. That's actually like Jackson Pollock. Do you know who Jackson Pollock
Yes.
is? I remember when I was in my undergrad, this paper that I read about his works being like they could be like a close-up of an atom, or they could be the entire galaxy.
Oh, cool.
Like
Yeah.
what a rich contemplation. Like, can you
Yeah.
find like expansiveness in like the miniature?
Yes. Wow. Okay. So we've been kind of talking about like these, yeah, like these more philosophical or conceptual aspects of like art and spirituality and the connections here and using art as a tool to engage with spiritual principles. But then should we move more into kind of like the actual doing of it or like how do we integrate it into our life? Like where do you want to go with this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could be really fruitful to talk about like the application
Mhm.
because something that's actually quite interesting is like the frustration that comes
Mhm.
with the limitation. It's like, yes, there's so much possibility with limitation, but it also can evoke a lot of frustration
Mhm.
when, especially I find like as someone who paints based on like quote unquote spiritual experience or like using spiritual practice or like following spiritual practice to like contact
Mhm.
like a deeper sense of self, reality, God, whatever,
Mhm.
and like have it be an expression of that encounter.
Mhm.
That's an inherently frustrating thing to do because it's always going to be limited,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? And so I think this could be something really interesting to kind of like tease out is
Mhm.
like the inherent frustration
Do
of
you think some
limitation.
people don't even engage because of that frustration? It's like it'll never be fully expressed, so I'm not even gonna try. Like that's just what's coming up for me right now. Do you see that?
Well, yeah, I think there are two different types of frustration. One of them is like fruitful and fine and you just kind of have to get used to it, and one of them is something to work on. Like
Mm.
there is frustration in the inability to fully express a vision, and it's like you will never refine that.
Yes.
It's never going to solve. It's never going to be solved. That's just like an inherent part of being a
Yes.
person, actually.
Yes.
And so it's like in those moments, not trying is like, what are you doing?
Yes.
You know, it's still so
Right.
fun to try, and you're never going to express it
Yes.
fully. So you may as well try, you know? It's almost freeing to be like, this isn't ever going to be possible.
Yeah.
That is a fruitful kind of frustration, I think, because it's like it inspires surrender and the actual shift of like making your creation an offering rather than like an encapsulation. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or kind of like being in the game for the process rather than the product that you're trying to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's frustration that comes in my experience, it's been like there's a kind of frustration that can come up in the art making process where it's like what I'm making just lacks aliveness.
Mm.
And it just doesn't have any shakti. And it's like that kind of frustration is like something needs to shift.
Hmm. How can you gauge that lacking aliveness? Is it just like it's almost like an inscrutable feeling, or can you describe that?
It feels like it feels like I just get really angry and like irritated. There was one time I was working on a piece that was frustrating me, and I literally had to like turn the canvas and put it in a different room because I was like, I cannot breathe with this in my space. Like, I was like,
You're
this
in
is,
timeout.
yeah, it was like, you're in a timeout. It was so disharmonious that it like irked something in me.
Oh,
Um, and so in that case, it was like, it just needed technical refinement.
yes.
And
Yes.
so that's just like building skill and building the ability to like recognize harmony or to like attune to harmony. So I know how to shift it to like bring back the feeling.
Yeah.
But it's not a frustration of like, I can't express this vision. It's more just like something needs to shift so that this becomes alive again.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's usually a matter of like technical understanding of like composition, color harmony, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Or like you've just been staring at something for so long that you're like, I can't even keep looking at this. I'm so far from the plot. I just need to like turn it around and like go for a walk around the block. Yeah.
That's the other thing. Yeah, it's like you're just so far from the plot. You need like a perspective shift or a
Mhm.
technical adjustment. It's like
Yeah,
one
that's
of
a good
those
way to put
things.
it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's a kind of frustration that you can work with, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I actually watched this TikTok the other day that I shared on Discord for my Patreon. And it was this therapist talking about discipline and how important she thinks discipline is, but like in the therapeutic environment, like healing environment, but the way that she teaches discipline is not to like discipline your mental health or like discipline your mind or something really intense like that. She encourages people to develop a discipline. So like going to the gym or like learning how to run or like yeah, like any sort of non-emotional discipline thing is the thing that you focus on. And then once you are able to engage with discipline in that space, it starts bleeding out into the rest of your life. And then you're able to have more discipline with your mind. So, like, if you're like starting to like spiral out because you've learned discipline at the gym, you can begin to apply discipline to your relationship with your own mind. And actually, the thing that's coming up for me in this conversation is actually the discipline of like sticking with an artistic process,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Because like it
For
does
sure.
take that, and then like learning that discipline could also bleed into like your spiritual life or like other aspects of your life. It could be like a portal for understanding that process.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the creative process and the spiritual process, like, not as though they're two different things because they're kind of the same thing, but they enhance each other. It's like like my mantra practice, I see bleeding into my art practice, and then my art practice, I see bleeding into the way I meet my life. And they kind of do that. Like something too that I'll often see with people is they'll like with artists, they'll be like, I'm really frustrated. Like I don't like this. I don't feel like it like serves my vision. I don't, and I'm like, you just haven't taken it far enough yet. You just haven't added enough layers yet. You just have to keep going. You just have to trust that it's still unfolding. Like it's gonna look a bit mucky at the start. It's gonna look messy. There are gonna be times where something is off and then you have to adjust it. And it's almost like when you're bowling and you have the like gutters and then you have those bumpers that kind of you can pull up and the ball when it's like going off course, it hits the bumper and goes back on course. It's like that's part of the
Yeah.
creative process. Sometimes it's like something will lose its energy or there will be like a frustration and then it's like you're just getting redirected. And I feel like mantra too and spiritual practices is a lot like that.
Yeah. Say more about that. More with the mantra and the spiritual practice.
Like Like sometimes if I'm doing mantra and it starts to become mechanical, I'm like, oh, I have to shift my approach.
That's
Like I made a post about this on Instagram yesterday about how like, um, when mantra starts to become something that you have to do, like a task on your to-do list, shifting from like this is something to do to like, oh, this is actually a presence to be with.
yes.
And it's like
Yes.
that shift. It's like, oh, I've gone too close into the gutter of like this being like a to-do list thing. I'm gonna shift the perspective and it kind of like reorients, you
Yes.
know, and I think the art making process reflects that a lot as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost like mantra is interesting because it's kind of like an object, even though it's like a sound form, and also depending on the mantra, it's like inundated with grace or not. But like even if you get like a very palpably grace-filled mantra from like a tradition or a guru or something, like there comes a point in your relationship with the mantra where like you start like objectifying it, even though it's like pounding you with grace. And the way that your mind is relating to it gets in the way of you being worked by it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it eventually always becomes like a mind game where it's like the mantra itself is so powerful, but then the thing that you really start engaging with is not just the mantra, but like the way that your mind engages with it. And you're going to have times where you're doing it really mechanically, like what you're saying, and other times where you're like, oh, like this is me calling God.
Yeah.
And then like the way that you can internally navigate to that feeling of connection becomes like actually like a huge part of the practice, like not just the mantra. It's like your way of internally navigating to the practice.
For sure. And I think like it's also this kind of balance of like what you said about like it's actually doing you. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
like the mantra is kind of like doing you.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's the creative process too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's actually like just unfolding in you through you
That's right.
in the same way that the mantra just like it's like you're not really doing the mantra. Like you're going to sit down and do your practice, but it's like the mantra it just like it
Yes.
starts to unfold or it starts to
Yes.
become alive or whatever.
Yes.
Um
Yes.
and I think that the creative process is quite similar.
Yes. Yeah, it's
I'm
like
curious if that's been your experience.
the disposition of the mind makes like the living entity of the mantra able to do its work on you. But it's like the disposition of the mind might be closed, and then it's like trying to knock on your head and get in there. But if the disposition of the mind is off because you're like really busy or stressed out or like having a bad day, like it's like this is just life, right? But it's like the
Mhm.
disposition of the mind is like a shutter that can like open or close. And it's like when the mind is open, then that living thing can like do its work on you. And it's still doing its work on you when it's pounding your head. But it
For
has a lot to
sure.
do with the way that we're looking at things.
Yeah, and I think this ties into another question that we had sort of contemplated of like effort. You know, it's like
Right.
where does the effort go? And it's
Yes.
like the difference between effort being used to like open this kind of like flap of the mind or like flap of the heart or like
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
know, and it's like the effort is actually on the vessel, let's say,
Mm.
for lack of a better word.
Mm.
Um, not the actual art. Just like, you know, like in mantra, it's like the effort is like just showing up, you know, it's not actually
Right.
on the mantra. The mantra is the mantra, like it will unfold, but it's like you just have to do the effort of showing up to like allow it to do
Yes.
its process.
Yes.
And then creative practice is the same. It's like the effort isn't applied to the art, but like to your capacity to allow art to happen.
Yes. Yeah, I think what's coming up for me, okay, just to help the listeners understand what we're saying, because this is so obvious to both of us, but maybe this is like new information to a lot of people. But I was even just thinking of like, okay, so like the mantra, okay, so like a seed, like let's say it's like a tomato seed, is literally imbued with the full intelligence of what it wants to grow into. But it's like
Mhm.
this tiny little thing. But inside of it is like the intelligence of like tomato-ness in a way that's like kind of mind-boggling, right?
Yes.
But the mantra is almost kind of like the seed. And so we get the seed that's imbued and in full of the fullness of reality, actually. But we have to like plant it and then like make sure that the seed can grow through the effort of like trying to keep it alive. But
Yes, the
it's
effort
full of
goes to
intelligence
tending the
though.
garden.
It's tending the garden.
Mhm.
And so it's like even when I used to be a professional gardener, I always thought of myself as somebody who's just like allowing that vitality. I'm trying to create conditions for vitality. I don't have to make anything grow. I can just like help it to become more to express itself more vitally. Yeah.
Exactly. I think like creatively, like when I just moved into a new city like in October. And I was like, how am I going to design my space to make creativity more possible? You know, it's like, what is the orientation of my
Yes.
rug, of my chair, of my, like, how can I orient my furniture and like create the conditions in my apartment for creativity to thrive or like for
Yes.
art to happen? And so
Yes.
it's like, that's where effort on
That's
the
the
path.
effort side of it.
Yeah, is like as a gardener, the effort is just
Mhm.
tending the garden.
Mhm.
As an artist, it's like the effort goes towards creating the space and the conditions. It's always about the conditions.
It's always about the conditions. I've been obsessed with the Trungpa quote, enlightenment is an accident, but spiritual practice makes you accident prone.
Yes.
Like this
Yeah,
is what we're talking about.
exactly.
It's like creativity is almost like an accident. But then
Yeah.
we do the work of making ourselves accident prone by like creating the right conditions for us to be able to do stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that do you think that part of the effort though is like okay, because you were talking about the vessel. So there's like the effort of creating a positive environment to act on the creative impulse. But like there's also like the skills, right? Because like maybe there's like a thing that you really want to bring into form, but you need certain skills to be able to execute. Do you think
For
that the
sure.
effort side is like skill as well?
Well, this is the really interesting intersection of like artistic creation and spiritual practice as well, because it's like technique alone will not get you anywhere. You have to infuse it with something.
Yeah.
So, spiritual practice gives you the heart, and the technique is just part of the execution. So, it's important to develop, but if you put all of your effort on developing a technique and no effort into creating conditions for like meaning
Yeah.
or beauty,
Yes.
it's not going to get you anywhere.
Okay. I love that because I have always loved like antique floral illustration, but not like scientific illustration, like the sort of like antique sort of floral illustration that's like an embellishment. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like maybe like Art Nouveau or like just like a an old book that has like a beautiful floral sort of image on it that's like an illustration and there's the technique of like literally rendering like what an iris looks like. But I think the reason why I love that sort of art is because people who are really good at that, you can tell how much they love flowers. Like
Yes.
that's
You
why it's
feel
so
it.
beautiful, is because they love beauty. They love flowers. So the technique alone won't create that like incredible embellishment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
So that's like
exactly.
the thing that they bring to the technique.
It has to be infused with something. This
Yes.
is Yo-Yo Ma is actually a great example of this, like the cellist,
Yeah.
because he is like a classically trained musician, but he loves beauty so much. And I think the reason why he's one of the most famous cello players ever is because you can feel that like sincerity and that devotion and that beauty in the way that he infuses the
Mhm.
music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like sheet music is sheet music. How you play it
Yes.
is where the meaning is, you know, that's where the beauty is. That's where the capacity actually to follow the music
Yes.
comes from. And like
Right.
Hazrat Inayat Khan talks about this. I know you like Hazrat Inayat
Yes, I
Khan.
sure
And
do.
yeah, he has a book called The Mysticism of Sound and Music. And an example that he gives that I love so much is like um if you go to like a gas station and you pay your gas bill and the cashier says thank you, like it's not going to have an effect on you because they don't really mean it.
Oh,
Whereas like if you give like a homeless person a meal and it like they're like thank you, like
right.
it's like infused with genuine thanks. It's like that same word is so much more meaningful because it's actually infused with something
Yeah.
like with meaning, you know? And so it's like the botanical representations are actually like
Oh my
infused with the relationship and the
God. Oh
beauty
my
and the
God.
love. And it's
This
like that's when things actually have meaning is when they have an infusion.
okay, this I was not expecting the conversation to go this way, but like I have to say this. I wonder if this is like a part of like the general discourse around AI art is like it can't really infuse the thing with anything.
That's why it all feels fake.
Oh.
it's like the composition can be harmonious. Like
Right. It's good at that,
it can
actually.
express a good idea, but like it's
Yeah.
not going to be deeply moving because it's not infused with anything.
Oh my God. But then there's also the discussion because, I teach a lot about satsang and
Yeah,
like listening to words that were spoken by people who are in a certain state of being so you can contact that state of being. There's also like
exactly.
a transmission quality even to the art or the music.
Exactly.
See, that's where we're
Exactly.
going.
Yes. And you know what? I'm going to read you a quote that I love so much that I found when I was doing my master's research. So I was researching an artist, Lauren Harris, who he was like a member of the Theosophical Society, so
Okay.
really interested in like the kind of thread that weaves through all of the great
Yes.
traditions. But one of the things that I found in his archives, like in his journals, he wrote, like in relation to the arts, the question is not what does it mean, but what experience does it contain? For a real work of art exists to engender a certain kind of life within us. Its power is to evoke, to enhance, to develop depths and heights of experience we have not had, or to develop those experiences we have already had to greater depths of understanding. Its function is to enlarge our consciousness, to sharpen, intensify, and deepen our awareness, and to increase our range of experience. AI can't do that. That is like, that requires like a deep infusion. It's like there's this point of contact, this experience, this yeah, contact with beauty or whatever, and then to like pour that into
Yeah.
creation.
Yeah.
And then it actually takes you back there. And I think that's why people have art on their altars. It's like there's the transmission of whether it's like a picture of a deity or like Ramana Maharshi,
Yeah.
for example. It's like that image is
Right.
infused and you can get transmission
Yeah.
from that.
I've always wanted to do, I've done a couple of portraits of saints that just like for myself. So I actually have a portrait that I drew of Dhyan Yogi on my desk, and then I have a portrait of Nanda Mayama that I drew. And I've always been kind of compelled by that idea personally, like the idea of a devotee drawing their guru and like imbuing the image with the devotional energy. Like that to me is a compelling idea.
Oh, for sure. And that's also the beauty of like, sure, technique is helpful. And the more that you develop your technique, the
Yeah.
more you'll be able to like, create like a strong vision. But like you can have a like quote unquote beginner level drawing, but if it's infused with such
That's
heart
right.
and such devotion,
Right.
then it's going to evoke that because regardless of how skilled the execution is,
Mhm.
if it's infused with real feeling, with real devotion, you can feel it.
Mhm. Mhm. So would you say that making art a spiritual practice, feeling is like a huge thing that needs to be involved? Like I'm asking you a
I think
question.
so, but I'm
Yeah.
also like a big bhakti, like I'm a bhakta,
Right.
So like I feel like there's so much relation in that.
Mhm.
It's like what's your relationship to the to God at the heart of the moment? And then can you infuse that into the way that you depict the moment, regardless of if it's poetry or painting or drawing
Mhm.
or music or
Mhm.
cooking even, like any kind of creative expression.
Right.
Um, I think that that's really important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
What do you
well,
think?
I don't know. I don't know. I actually think I'm stuck on like a thought that I had that's like very half-baked and we can just kind of see what happens, but like sometimes like Shakti or the goddess, I think this is also true in the Shaivite traditions too, but like the goddess is referred to as being like self-reflective and like
Mhm.
self-referencing. And so I'm just like stuck on this thought of like humans as art makers trying to like represent something is like a form of like self-referencing, but it's like the goddess wanting to self-reference. But
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a complete thought.
I have this like secret policy internally that like all my paintings are self-portraits. Uh, I think it's true. Like when you like self-portraits of like the goddess, but like depicted in different ways.
Right.
Is that kind of along the lines of like
Yeah,
what you're
yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah. I think this is a half-baked thought that I'm gonna return to later, but I think that's kind of the direction that I'm going in with that thought.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thing to contemplate. Like if you're gonna paint like or draw
Yeah.
whatever, like,
Yeah.
to be like, this is like this could be a self-portrait.
Right. Oh shit, yeah. That's like clunking into my head all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah.
What do you feel like is landing, like as you're processing that?
Well, I was just
How does
thinking, yeah, I think like I was just thinking of like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So like if I was gonna do like a illustration of a red bud tree, I'm just looking at a red bud tree out my window. Um, there's no act like the red bud tree is me. So I'm doing a self-portrait by drawing the red bud tree. I think that's the line
Yeah.
of thought.
Yeah. That's a pretty good bhakti yoga practice.
Whoa. Doing my self-portraits. Oh my God. Or like taking a notebook around. Yeah, and like you said, like just like doing like landscape drawings. Like you're just doing self-portraits.
Yeah.
That's
That's
great.
just it's a fun lens to try on and like
Yes.
just like see how that shifts your relationship to the world around you.
100%. 100%.
There are so many practices.
So many practices. So many
Yeah, and it's like
practices.
depending on like what the stuck point is or like where the perspective
Yeah.
shift needs to happen, it's like you can shift the way whether it's like painting the colors of the gunas, painting self-portrait. It's like, like there are so many ways to go about
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
like
this is
meeting.
where I think maybe I want to transition to another question, which is like, where does art stop being self-expression and start becoming actual practice? And not that this needs to be like a black and white experience, but maybe it's kind of like a spectrum or like these things can kind of coexist. Like, how would you go along with that line of thinking?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like a very big umbrella
Mm-hmm.
question. And like there's so many ways to go
Mm-hmm.
about it. Like even in our chat today, like we've addressed so many different types of um practices for turning the arts into like even it's like painting with a limited palette that can become like an actual practice. Painting with a full palette that can become an actual practice. It's all about the approach. Um but I think
Yeah.
where it stops becoming self-expression and actual practice, something that comes up for me immediately is like releasing what I want the painting to look like
Mm-hmm.
and actually serving the vision. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's like when it's self-expression, it's like I have this idea and I'm gonna like put it out into
Mm-hmm.
this poem or put it out into this canvas or and it's like an output.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when it becomes an actual practice, it's more of a dialogue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean when I say
Yeah.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um and
Well, because
like
it's not just about you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's almost this like what does this want to be or like what
Yeah.
is this becoming,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I
Um
think it's also about interrogating the self and self-expression. What
yeah,
even
same
is the
with
self?
that.
Well, it's like if somebody like there's so many different lenses that we can take on reality or what we think is really going on, and somebody who hasn't like interrogated their self, the self, and hasn't like done the work of kind of maybe loosening their grip on like their sense of individuality or how precious their individuality is, what if that's even true or not, like someone could just like do self-expression and that what they think that is just like it's just more of like a singular view of self. Like it's like I'm doing all of this self-expression. Like this is Hanna. I make art and what you see is me. It's like that sort of a mindset. Whereas like I have like a different take where I'm just like a goblin who's like being prodded around like a marionette doll with like whatever idea comes into my mind. And I don't claim ownership over almost anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Right?
think it's
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 like
like when we're
totally different
talking
experience.
yeah, when we're talking self-expression, it's like we almost need like a little footnote of like
Yeah.
the like lowercase s self
And
and
the
uppercase
uppercase.
s
Yes.
self. Because it's like you can do self expression or self-portrait as like Kayla or Hanna,
Right.
and then you can do self-expression or self-portrait as like capital S self of like how does like consciousness like express in this
Yeah.
particular form.
Yeah.
And there's a bit more of like a stepping back in that. I can't remember who said it. I should probably find this, but there's this quote that I have in my phone that's like, art is a collaboration between the artist and God, and the less the artist does, the better.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I feel like that it's like the self-expression is kind of just
Yeah.
this like flow or this unfolding. And when there's that approach, it stops becoming like individual self-expression.
Yeah, because also it's such a delicate dance too, because it's like you I could like look at your paintings and be like, Kayla did this,
Hmm.
right? So like there is an element of like Kayla expression,
Yeah.
right? But then there's something more than Kayla happening, right? Or like somebody could look at like my distinctive style. Like I have a distinctive style. And so that on some level that is my quality of Hanna expression that's happening in the form of
Yeah.
the art. But it's like, is it self-expression or is it just like I just have a flavor that I'm bringing to the
Yeah.
expression of the art?
The term flavor was kind of like in my mind with that
Yeah.
too. Or like it's almost going through this filter
Mm-hmm.
um, of like each of our own like lived experience.
Right.
And then I think about this too when it comes to style being related to worldview. Like lately, a lot of my paintings have this kind of like fluid movement
Mm.
to them.
Yeah.
Because I've been contemplating like all of creation as the orchestra of the divine
Yeah.
and this like pulsing of Shakti like as creation. And so it's like if that's the relationship that I have with reality, then it has to like what's the visual of that? It's going to have flow, it's going to have pulse, it's going to have movement. And so it's like the style that it comes out has to like reflect the worldview or like
Okay.
the
Yes.
inspiration.
Okay. I think I to help other listeners understand what you're saying, I'm going to share like an addition to that. So maybe this is something that people like need to look up, but like the art of Rudolf Steiner reflects his worldview. And so like he was also an artist, but like there's a lot of like in the anthroposophical world, and like even I have an aunt who's like an art anthroposophist, and all of the art that she makes is reflective of her worldview, where it's like all of the art is like about like kind of like this diffusive quality of like consciousness, and like everything's kind of like fuzzy or like things are like glowing, but it's like that is related to like her worldview. Like that's
Yeah,
like what she sees. It's like consciousness is this like diffusive dancing thing that's like taking up all of these forms, and her view of reality is literally coming through with the kind of art that she's making. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like for me, like lately, reality feels like rich, warm, deep, and musical.
Yeah.
And so it's like that informs the colors I use, the composition I paint with, like how I like shift forms or lines to like challenge the like borders of reality. It's like the vision or the artistic toolkit kind of reflects
Yes.
the vision. And so yeah, it's like that's the filter of like style that it kind of goes through.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this element of like, this is how I'm viewing my inspiration, or this is how I'm viewing reality, but it's still more than like just me.
Yes. Okay. The way that I think this comes out for me the most is not necessarily in my visual art, but in like the imagery and choices that I make with like the memes that I make. I
A
actually
hundred
think that like my
percent.
worldview actually comes out the most in like my memery, or like the carousels that I put together with like lots of different images, because it's like I it's almost like so baked into me that this isn't even like a conscious choice, but like if I were to like break it down, it's like there's certain colors that I pick, or like qualities of image that I choose that speak to the way that I look at reality. So like sometimes like I'll pick like a bunch of like kind of like disconcerting images, but it's because it's like everything to me is like a content, like if everything is God, that means it's also this weird thing too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like I purposefully pick imagery that might prod somebody's beliefs about what God is, because we need to expand beyond like our limited notions of consciousness. And so I think for me, my worldview comes actually out the most in my memery, but like not necessarily other aspects of my art.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting and also like alludes to the power of metaphor.
Exactly.
I know I'm a big metaphor lover and it's like me as well because it's like how else do you express the inexpressible by saying it's kind of like this,
Right.
you know? And then it's like you use something else
Yes.
that like alludes to the same kind of
Yes.
energetic quality.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, and this is like same thing as evocation. It's like your memes are an evocation
Yes.
of like a recognition, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, or another way that I kind of put it is like it's like the one of the reasons why I'm so compelled by that format is because when you have words and imagery in the same place, you can like compress layers of truth that like the words alone couldn't do and the image alone couldn't do. And so
Yes.
it's like compressing an idea into like a very potent sort of situation. Because the
Yeah,
image will
there's
make you feel something, but the words are going to make you feel something else, but maybe they're together, it creates something really interesting.
absolutely, and they dance together. This is there's an art therapist named Natalie Rogers who coined this term like the creative connection. And it's basically like you have an idea and you express it in one art form, and then you take the same idea and what you learned from that and express it in another art form. And then you express it in another art form. And it's like this way of like deepening and refining different aspects of the same idea. And so like it really bridges like the art forms together. And like for me in my creative process, it always starts with sound. It always starts with music. Then it moves through dance. It's like the
Yeah.
music takes shape in the body, which helps me to understand the form and the like size of music
Yeah.
and the shape of music. And then it takes shape visually on canvas. It always goes from sound to movement to visual,
Yeah.
and kind of goes through that process. And it's like the linking of art forms is where like the potency is, or like you learn different aspects of the like original point of inspiration when you see it through the lens of different art forms. So when you combine them together, it's like you have that potency of the
Oh.
visual and you have the unique language of words working together,
Yeah.
create something really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Wait, but
so
are you
rich.
saying that like okay, because like are you because we're talking about like maybe like memory as like a medium, but like if I had an idea, like maybe I would take like a phrase and then try to make the phrase a painting and then try to make the painting like a sound. Like, is that what you're saying? And then you like kind of go around to like all these other different attempts. Is
Yeah,
that what
you
you're
can
saying?
do that. But then with memes, it's like you're taking what you're learning from the image and you're taking what you're learning from the words and you're putting them together at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And so then they act in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which is more powerful than any of them on their own.
Right. Yeah, there's like a few like over the last 6 years of me making memes. There's like a few like phrases that I've written that I keep always like returning to. And so like I'll like revisit the phrase with like a new set of imagery to kind of notice like how I can make the words hit different using like different images or something. And so it's like it's always like a how much more can I make this like really intense for somebody with like kind of refining the way that might land for somebody who's just coming across it on Instagram. Like I'm so compelled by the idea of somebody opening up Instagram and like having like a shocking moment of self-realization just by
Yep.
looking at like a carousel. Like I'm like driven by that experience.
As you should be. As you should
And
be.
so I literally have one this morning that I was doing that's like it's this phrase that I've had forever that's like where in your body mind can you locate your enduring sense of purpose? If you're not sure where to look, check. Oh wait, no, the line is there's a temple in your mind that you've been building brick by brick. If you're not sure what you're devoted to, check to see whose altar you're sacrificing yourself on, and then ask whose bricks am I laying? Do you like what you've found? Okay, that sounds really weird when I say it out loud. It's better to read it. But it's kind of like this intense imagery that's trying to prod somebody to kind of look at like what it is that they're truly devoted to. And then I like use like different imagery to kind of like provoke that thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if you use imagery that's like maybe what someone is devoted to that they don't want to be devoted
Yeah.
to, then it's like, oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm like, this is I got to make an adjustment here.
Right.
Versus like if it's like something actually like really supportive, then it's like the recognition kind of maybe this is the same but has a different flavor.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, totally. Totally. Yeah, there's like different, it's almost like well, something that's similar but different is like mute soundscapes in like movies or something. Like the like that old thing of like have you ever seen that like thing where it's like the Shining trailer but they put like happy-go-lucky music on it so it seems like it's a family movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the sounds that you put on the raw material of the film are going to change like the feeling quality that comes from like the thing that's been shot. And
Yeah.
so like I feel like with the imagery with the words it can be kind of like that where it's like certain imagery might not create the right feeling. You have to create the right
Exactly.
feeling with the right image, but it's not sound, it's like a different thing. But on
Yeah. If
Instagram
it's
you can add
hashtag,
music to the carousel.
there you go. Got three art forms. It's like that brings us back to the conversation of evocation. It's like, what do you want to evoke? What's the experience that you want to evoke?
Okay,
What
well,
experience does this contain? And then how are you engaging it with the experience that the other thing contains?
okay, well that's interesting that you're bringing it back to this because I was just thinking that when I think of my art form of memery, I want to evoke provoke. Like I feel very provocative. Like I'm trying to like provoke them. But I guess do you think there's a difference? Like what's the difference between evoke and provoke?
Well, you can evoke a provocation.
Yes. I'm trying to evoke a provocation. Or I'm trying to provoke evocativeness.
Whoa. Provoke an evocation.
I think I'm
Evoke
trying to
provocation.
provoke like I'm trying to like provoke mind to not think so rigidly. Like that's kind of like a thing that I feel I'm trying to do a lot. It's like provoke a new way of thinking or
Mhm.
provoke like the mind to realize like how attached it is to things being a certain way. Like those are kind of themes that I feel like I explore a lot.
Yeah. And it's like the pairing of image and word
Mhm.
does that
Mhm.
effectively.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the power of the arts is the evocation. Where it's like
Yes.
you're not just telling someone, "Hey, this is your experience of reality and this is what it could be." You know? It's like there's actually this like, "Okay, this has the experience, this has the experience. If I put them together, it's actually going to like give that experience, you
Yes.
know?"
Yes. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a real skill in like playing around with how you can give somebody an experience.
Mhm. Yeah. And like I think when it comes to like success in the arts, like something that Rupert Spira talks about is like success as an artist has nothing to do with fame or fortune or attention or anything like that. But success as an artist is like in the highest sense is to give someone a taste of nature's eternity. Like if your work can do that, like that is why like all of the world famous like composers, you know, like we have like Beethoven, for example, like his compositions were so evocative that they take you into an experience outside of the horizontal line of time. Or um like Georgia O'Keeffe, for example, one of the paintings I've been working on right now is this really big close up of a flower that's like very like musical in its nature. And the intention is that like, oh, if someone sees this, they like feel the kind of like impulse of movement that's like the life of the flower. Like Lauren Harris once said, um, don't paint the branch, paint the urge of its growth. And so it's like if someone sees it and feels the impulse behind form or like the life of the flower, then I'm like that has succeeded. You know,
Oh, that's
because
so
it's like
great.
it takes you into a deeper experience or relationship with reality
Yes.
through the art.
Yes.
And it's like that is like quote unquote success.
Yes.
And I think that like a meme, if it's a successful meme, it's like it actually gives someone the experience of a perspective shift or of like less rigidity in the mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how much reach it has or whatever. Obviously, those things
Right.
are nice, when you're trying to build a business, but it's like, like, do you experience this? Like when it's like, oh, this was successful because it actually worked.
Yes. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And then it's interesting with the memes too because you can get like feedback on it. Like someone will
Hmm.
like comment and feel like this just completely changed the way I think about things.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as an artist, I love when people comment on my work because it's like, it's not like, oh, they liked it or like, oh, it's doing well. It's like, oh, like it's actually like I'm actually doing the vision service or like it's working. I was able to get out of my way enough for like the vision to really like live through this.
Well, let's start closing out with our final question that I think is related to this. Can you want your art to succeed and still keep it sacred?
I think, I think so. I think when the success is like the transformation, then I think so.
Self transformation or transformation for the viewer? Or both?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want the work to work,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's sacred because it's a devotion to
Mm-hmm.
the heart of the inspiration. It's a devotion to the vision,
Mm-hmm.
which is for me in my experience, which is sacred. But then at the same time, it's like I don't think it's a selfish thing to say, "Hey, I actually want this to make a lot of money." But not in a means of it. It's a means of an end, like
Yes.
so that I have more time and space and capacity to create the work.
Right. To contemplate things.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually think that, like, okay, when it comes to like what makes art a spiritual practice, this isn't like absolutely 100% true across the board, but like I think a big consideration is like what are you contemplating in the practice? Or like what is the practice becoming a contemplation of? So like if like kind of like the thing that you're consistently kind of returning to is like my art making is a contemplation of like the mystery of God. I'm trying to contemplate what that means. Like that to me would maybe make it a spiritual practice aside from just like self-expression. Like what's the thing that's getting contemplated?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What's the heart of it? What's it centered around?
Right.
What's like
And then if you have
what's
more
the
money, you'll
north
have more
star?
time to contemplate.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. More time to like be in that space
Yes.
with that like particular modality or that particular
Yes.
medium.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can you want your art to succeed and still keep it sacred? I think that's even funny with the meme conversation because I just have a love of the game. Like I just really enjoy making the memery. It just like I just went with it and I've just kept going with it in different ways. It's kind of transformed. But I want my memes to succeed because then they are the gateway drug to like the actual thing that I'm about. And so like the thing that I'm actually interested in is getting people to take an interest in God. Like if I can get one person to like completely change their relationship with God in a way where it's like self-empowered and like direct experience and it's something that is like enriching their life, I have succeeded. And the memes
Yeah,
are how I start doing that. Like that's the first step is the memes. And so to me, there's a
absolutely.
connection between success and the sacred because that's the medium by which I try to bring people to the sacred.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me the paintings are the same way.
Right. Right.
Like this is a doorway into beauty, to reverence, to like a perspective
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah.
Like to God, like to see God as a dancer, as a flower, as a cup of coffee, as whatever it is that the subject is.
Yeah.
It's like if I can painted in such a way that the experience takes the viewer beyond the subject into like its heart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's God. And so it's like, yeah,
Right.
that's a very sacred success.
Right. That's right. What do you think would be a stumbling block? Like what would be a problem with wanting your art to succeed and then it's not sacred? Like what's the stumbling block?
I think it's when it becomes very personal, when it's like, I want to succeed personally. And so like I'm always kind of trying to catch when it's like I want like me to do well versus like I really want this vision to have more reach.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction because
Yes.
otherwise it's like if it gets too like too personal
Yeah.
of like self success, then it's not about the vision anymore. It's not about the sacred anymore. It's not actually about God. It's about me and my career, you know?
Like it's less
And so
playful. It
yeah.
has like a playfulness with this. I'll just speak for myself. I feel like even in my memery, there's like periods of time where I'm like, nobody look at anything I posted in 2024. Like nobody look at anything that I posted in 2024. Cause like that was me going through like a very personal process around like survival and like making enough money and like needing things to work. Like I just like the whole system that I'm running like just was not fucking working. And so when that wasn't working and I wasn't right with myself, I feel like I wasn't very playful in the things that I was sharing. And I feel like the more playful I feel, the more freedom I feel in expression. And then that's when I start creating things that are a little bit more inspired rather than it's like, I'm making this because I need it to have a result. And if it doesn't have that result, I'm fucked. Like, that's like
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like a
yeah.
very supportive mindset to create great art. I mean, maybe just for me personally, but like maybe other people can relate with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, and that's like the spiritual practice of play, I feel like, which
100%.
is like that alone can be the artistic and spiritual crossover. Is like you can literally just make art to increase your sense of play.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be good. It
No.
doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be skilled. It doesn't have to be anything. You can literally just engage with the arts for the sake of play. And that can be another spiritual practice with it. You know, there's so many
Yes.
avenues.
Yeah, I just bought these chalk pastels that, and I got some black paper because I just love that like opaque color on black paper. And I'm just like scribbling. And I'm like, this is fun. Like, that's like the only reason why I'm doing it. It
Yeah,
just feels
absolutely.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, I have canvases around my house that are just like they're not like actual quote unquote paintings. They're not something that I would like they're literally just
Yes.
for play.
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
that's a whole section of
Yes.
my practice that just
Yes.
exists for that sake. And
Okay,
I
before we wrap up, there was like this thing that I saw. I wonder if you know anything about this. Like creating in a way where you like use your whole body, like making big strokes with like the arm, like
mm,
does something like psychologically. Have you ever heard that? It's like there's some sort of like it's like a regulation actually. It's like when
mm.
you have a big marker and you make a big thing up on a big piece of paper, it like there's some sort of like somatic thing that happens in that space. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, yeah, it rings a bell. I feel like I probably saw something in that when I was studying like art therapy.
Yeah. So like that
Hmm.
I think that's coming up for me with like the play thing of like even just the very movement of like putting paint into like huge strokes is something that is like inherently playful and using the whole body in the experience.
Yeah, there's that somatic element, and then to just see like the actual like creation and evolution of something through your like
Mm-hmm.
action is just
Mm-hmm.
like that alone is
Right.
so nourishing.
Right.
Because you're just like this active participator in the creative process.
Yes.
That is so fun. And
Yes.
then yeah, when you have this like big somatic element to it,
Yes.
it's like you feel that sense of fun and that inspiration actually like literally moving through your body.
Yes. Okay. So before we close out, I have a closing question for you. So you've posted stuff on your Instagram recently of you like filming yourself kind of from behind the canvas of you painting. And I
Yes.
love those videos because you're just like so into it. And it's like
Yes.
really like it like makes me smile because you're just like so having an experience. And so my question for you is like what advice would you give to somebody who watches one of your videos and is like, "Man, I want to have that kind of an experience." Like what would you tell somebody like that?
Follow inspiration.
Yeah.
It is so, this sounds so obvious that it's almost weird to say out loud, but if you want to be inspired, you have to do things that inspire you. Like the way that I have developed my creative process has been an amalgamation of like, I feel inspired to go to grad school. I'm going to go to grad school. I feel inspired to like look at Lauren Harris's stuff. Oh, he wrote about the orchestra. I feel inspired to go to the orchestra. Oh, wow, this is really cool. And then it's like that infused my painting process. And so it's like just like breadcrumb, 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 following the breadcrumbs of inspiration. And and that has been how like this particular creative process for me has developed.
Yeah.
I never intended for it to be this way. Um, this is just how it happened by following inspiration.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like just noticing like what excites you, what feels inspiring, and actually going into it. Like I mean, maybe this isn't a very quick answer to the question, but
It's
like
okay.
my dad is someone who's very like structured and rigid and kind of has like his way of doing things. And one time I was visiting him over Christmas and he was like, oh, I got to show you this song that I found. I think it was a Pink Floyd song, but it had this like particular flute in it. And he was like, this is so cool. Look at how like beautiful this instrument is. And you could see him kind of like lighting up. It was inspiring something in him. And then I was like, did you ever look up what it was? And he goes, no. And I was like, why not? Like, this thing is so cool to you. This thing is so interesting to you. Like, follow that breadcrumb. So then we like looked up on Spotify, like looked it up on Google, like, what is this? And then looked up Spotify playlists or music that includes this particular kind of flute. And then kind of like went down the rabbit hole. And you could see him starting to kind of like light up or like become curious about life, you know? And so it's like maybe it's not such an obvious thing that when something inspires you or when something lights you up that you just go, oh, but like follow it.
Okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but on Instagram, I've been having this highlighter yellow moment.
Yes.
And I feel like the highlighter yellow moment is me like following a weird inspiration because now that I have this highlighter yellow, this sounds so weird, but it's like I'm like, well, what do things look like with the highlighter yellow? And then I'm like overlaying images on the highlighter yellow and I'm like, oh, that creates like a really interesting experience. And so I'm just like following the highlighter yellow inspiration and then it's taking me down these other avenues of like what goes with highlighter yellow. And then I'm like, oh, there's like these weird early internet gifs that look kind of interesting with the highlighter yellow. And it's like I feel like I kind of like unblocked like a creative thing just by following the color highlighter yellow.
Yes. Like it's like the breadcrumbs can literally be so freaking random,
Yes.
but it's like it's just important to follow them.
Yes.
And it's just like see what happens,
Yes.
you know? And
Yes.
then like I think to be engaged in inspiration, like the term enthusiasm comes from on theos, which means with God. So it's like when you're engaging in inspiration, enthusiasm, there's actually something deeply sacred about that. And that is probably why those reels are so interesting because it's like there's such an enthusiasm. It's like that's like a relationship with God that's been like caught on camera.
Yes. And then I feel like the worldview thing, because my worldview is always imbued with it, is that I like highlighter yellow because it's such a crazy color that I'm like, how on earth does this color exist? And
It's
like
so
feel,
funny.
yeah.
And I see it and I'm like, this is so Hanna. Like I noticed that I'm like that express that's so on brand. Like I was like, that makes so much sense.
But yeah, it's like a color that like I feel like it opens my mind because I'm like, how on earth does that color exist? Like it's just like crazy to me. And so anyway, so good. Well, Kayla, this has been such a wonderful discussion, and I feel like for personal reasons, what I'm taking away from this discussion is actually explaining a lot of my, like, underlying spiritual impulses behind my art making my whole life, which is, like, a cherished gift that I'm getting from this conversation that I was not expecting. And I'm wondering, like, what are you taking away from this? Like, what are your little nuggets from this discussion?
I feel like, just the importance of following what feels alive in whatever expression that
Mm,
takes, you know? Like, I feel like the whole time we've been saying the same thing, but the way it expresses in your life and the way it expresses in
yes.
mine are so different. But it's like that's the beauty of it, you know? It's like there's no one way to traverse the spiritual path or traverse the artistic exploration. It's like just that like richness or that devotion or like what feels alive.
Mhm.
Um, and this kind of like explorative nature of both like spirituality and creativity. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's been a really, like, nourishing thing to, like, to sit in and to, like, be in conversation with of, like, how does this manifest for you? And, like, how does this show up for you? And, like, the excitement that that brings, and so it's like for whoever is, you know, listening, it's like that's also gonna show up very differently, but it's like there's so much possibility and, like, leaning into whatever nuggets are being taken away and, like, following that. Like, I just think that's a really, like, rich, point from this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yes, listener, I'm talking to you right now. Listener, if there's something that you got, the little inspiration you got from this discussion, go do something about it.
Go do something about it. Yeah, what like, literally, like, neon memes and then, like, rich textures of florals and orchestra it's like it's the same thing, but,
It's
like,
the same
expressed
thing.
in so many d in such different,
Yes.
um, manifestation, and, yeah, I think with creativity, people can get really stuck on, like, an idea of what it should look like rather than being an expression of passion or joy or curiosity, and so I think, that is something that could be really taken from this, conversation through my personal lens anyways.
I completely agree. Well, Kayla, how do you want to be connected with? How could people support you? What do you want people to know about you as we exit the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Patreon. I'm gonna it's a kind of like a library right now of asana, meditation, pranayama, art talks, behind the scenes of painting process, like poetry analysis, like, you know, this kind of intersection. So that's like a really rich way to connect and soon I'll be starting to do live biweekly classes um that are yeah, like really, you know, geared towards the heart. Like kind of this whole conversation we don't practice to get good at practice. We practice to deepen into reality, to build relationship with the sacred, to expand our perception and so all of that. And then I sell art. So if someone wants to connect with the visual arts, whether that's through prints or paintings or commissions, or if there's interest in one-on-one work for like developing creative vision
Mhm.
um, as well and artistic language. I love to connect with people over that. Um, and then just Instagram,
Okay.
Kayla.Radhika.
Don't you have a live gallery show that's coming up this year?
I do in the house of one of my favorite artists, which is so incredibly cool. Yeah, at the Emily Carr House in Victoria on Vancouver Island. There's gonna be a show from May 2nd to 23rd.
So
Um,
anyone who's up in the Great White North needs to
yes,
have that
and I
experience.
might try to record the artist talk on my Instagram live if the hookup is right, because it's called Prelude, and it's the subtitle is The Divine Musicality of Nature, so it's like Kashmir Shaivism, Tantra, the orchestra, and the visual arts kind of like and my art history all kinda together, so the artist talk will be really themed around that, so
That's
I might put that
amazing.
on my yeah, or try to record it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And what about you? What have you got going on now? You have your Patreon,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah. Yeah, I have my Patreon, and, I don't know, I guess other stuff that's going on with me is I'm teaching conflict school again in June, and, yeah, like, I also talk about tantra on my Patreon, and I'm trying to make a zine right now that's, like, an illuminated manuscript, but I'm realizing that's a very slow process, and I need to slow down. It's been a bit of an effort, so I'm trying to
Mm.
discipline myself with that, but yeah. That's
It's
the
hard to be a
question.
limited being and have infinite idea and inspiration.
I know. I know. Yeah. Well, Kayla, I think it's time for us to part ways, and it was lovely to have this discussion today.
Yeah, so nourishing. Such a great chat. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find more information about today's guest in the show notes. And if you feel inspired to work with me, you can book a session with me through my website. And if you want more of this kind of conversation, you feel really lit up by these spiritual conversations, my Patreon has deeper talks. I have 50, 60 talks that I've given over the last several years and lots of recorded Q&A sessions, ongoing teachings. I post there all the time, and we have our community Discord server. And until we meet again, keep giving God a good ride.